friends, to another episode of Inspire Careers Spotlight on Careers, the video podcast series where I interview diverse professionals in the career space and share the information that they have that I know is of great interest to other career professionals to help them advance in their careers and to be able to increase their performance. So I'm so pleased to be able to bring to you today Dana Goodemote. Dana is the owner of Adore Studio based in Williamsville, New York. And we're here to talk to Dana today about professional branding portraits. And I'm going to share with you exactly how Dana and I work together with personal branding of clients. But before we get there, I do want to introduce her. So welcome, Dana. Hi, how are you today?
Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much for having me on. I always love seeing you. I appreciate this.
Oh, it's great to see you. And the topic that we're going to be discussing today is of such relevant interest today. And maybe 5 or 10 years ago, we wouldn't have had this conversation, but it's very timely. But before we get into talking about personal branding, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. So, as Kathy said, I'm Dana Murray from Adore Studio. I've been a professional photographer for over 15 years. I started photographing as a teenager, which always is a little cliche. But I fell in love with the medium and I knew that it was going to be my passion, lifelong passion and career. I went on to photography college. I worked for other studios in the meantime. And then in 2007, I opened up my own photography studio, specializing in weddings and portrait. And later, about 6 years ago, I started Adore Studio, which is a branch from that specializes in branding portraits for personal businesses as well as large businesses.
Excellent. And when we keep talking about personal branding, because we're going to use that term several times during our conversation today, it's a term that's thrown around a lot. And as I said, it wasn't such a big topic several years ago, but today it is. So can you kind of describe what it really means to you in terms of helping people build their careers?
Absolutely. So personal branding is essentially that it's about you, it's personal. So you're taking something that nobody else has, which is your superpower, your personality, your story, and you're turning that into part of your brand. So the idea is getting people to connect with who you are, getting them to like and know and trust you, which is extremely important, especially in now, this climate where everything is online. Majority of that first contact is visual and online.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when we talk about personal branding, we always take it down to the personal level for each individual. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but let's talk about teams because when you also work with teams in terms of branding, how does that personal branding extend to professional teams?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So, teams, it's the same idea. It's going to be from personal to now us or we. So you're taking that individual concept and applying it to your team's concept, where you can highlight individual members of your team where they can tell their story and how it represents the brand, or you can highlight the personality of the team as a whole. So there's a few different ways to go about that, but a great example of this is Independent Health. They do an amazing job with this, where they keep their brand strategy on point of giving that red shirt service, but they highlight their individual employees and their stories on billboards, on all their marketing materials. So that you're getting a personal touch point when you're working with their brand. So that's a large corporation that still brings in personal branding within a team setting.
And even though we may not have talked about personal branding years ago in terms of individuals, to your point, companies have always known this and
Yes,
they've always
absolutely.
used it in their marketing. And when I'm working with clients developing their career marketing materials, because that's actually the term I use to them,
Mm.
resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, maybe a biography, a professional biography, or a pitch deck. I do a lot of those nowadays. It's always about trying to take that same concept of marketing yourself to
Mhm.
a potential employer or maybe to a potential client if you're working with me to get materials together to help generate more business for the organization that you're at. And
Absolutely.
very often I refer my clients to you because we have established a great working relationship, and I refer them to you to do their personal branding photos. And when you go to your LinkedIn profile, when anybody goes to theirs, back to what you said before, so much of introductions are done online. You really want to have that great, warm, engaging picture is that first contact, that first touch point with someone. That's really important, isn't it, Dana?
So important, because really that first touch point is going to be how people feel about you. Your brand should be something that when people interact with it, they feel a certain way. And your personal brand should be no different. It should be something where people know that when they're coming to you, you're going to be warm and inviting, or that maybe your personal brand is that you mean business and you're there to get the job done. So there's a lot of different ways to show that visually, especially in photographs. That's so important because that is you and you're representing that idea.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So, how do you get to know what your client style is? What is it like if someone came to you for their professional branding pictures, for their LinkedIn? Maybe they want to use it for other things too, but as they're coming to you and they're doing their session with you, how do you get to know them to decide how to represent them in the portraits?
Absolutely. So I always have a consultation with my clients prior to even booking me. So I'll kind of get an idea of who they are and what they need to make sure we're the best fit. From there, they get a branding worksheet, which is all done digitally online, where they're going to fill out specific ideas and specific questions regarding their brand and the personal brand. So we can learn how to merge the two together. From there, we go into another meeting of planning that. So using all of the information I got from that workbook and creating a strategy for the day of to represent those different ideas within their brand.
Yeah, and I can speak personally to that because I know at Inspire Careers, I used you when I was rebranding my business from the previous business that I owned. And you came into my office, and of course that was before the pandemic, but I think we're getting back to those type of days. But you came into my office and you took pictures of me and pictures of me with clients. And we spent a long time really trying to identify my unique value offering to my potential clients. And I appreciated that. And I think that's so important because sometimes people think a picture is a picture, but
Right.
it's so much more than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, they do say pictures worth 1,000 words or a million words, whatever
Yes,
that
they
that old
do.
saying is. But it is true. You know, a visual representation of yourself is really important, and you want that to be on point when your potential customers are looking for you, especially if you're in the market where you're selling a similar item or similar service, or sometimes the same exact item for multi-level marketers. This is something that can really separate you from your competition. This is something that people will buy from you or engage with you over your competitor.
Yeah, but back to the LinkedIn thing again, because this is how so many people are going to use the branding portraits that you provide for them. A lot of other outlets for it, but this is a primary way. I'm always disappointed, when I see somebody's picture that I know doesn't do them justice. And it
Right.
really does nothing to support their personal brand. And I think there's a misconception that personal pictures, personal portraits are expensive. I mean, we're not talking about when you do wedding photography, sure, that's more expensive. That's a big amount a day, different things. But this is, it's inexpensive when you think about the investment that you're making in yourself. And I wish people would recognize that more. And I try to convey that to people, regardless of who they choose to work with. But it's really important to make that investment to kind of bring all the pieces together. When I'm working with clients, I want all of the touch points to be on point exactly to support their brand. So
Absolutely.
so when we talk about tips for today's professionals, what kind of tips might you give professionals today to help support their personal branding, Dana?
Sure. So I would say really do a deep dive on who you are, what your value systems are, what how you want to serve your clients, and start making lists or even create a vision board of some sort of what things, relate to you. This will help you visually see who you are, who you want to show you are online. It's hard. It's hard to really figure that out for yourself because I've done it for myself and it isn't easy. It's something that you have to take some time to do and really strategize around, and also be authentic with it, and really don't put something out there that's not you or try to be something you're not. Be who you are, because people are going to resonate with who you truly are versus you trying to be someone you think people want you to be. So you're gonna, really attract your tribe and your ideal client when you're showing who you really are and your truth. And that really does resonate in photographs. And when going back to that investment, it is an investment for portraits. However, you're going to get that investment back tenfold because you're creating something that people can relate to, and they're going to feel closer to you, and they're going to trust you more. And that's the whole idea behind building a personal brand. And the photography part is just an avenue or a vehicle to get you closer to that goal.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great point that is. And I like especially the point that you make in terms of strategizing it. Building a personal brand, and we all struggle with that, right? We all try to figure out what makes us unique. It is about authenticity today and being our true selves, and not being afraid to pull the curtain back a little bit to be able to show people. And that doesn't mean telling every single thing about ourselves, but what is important for people to know, to feel that connection with us. And I think in addition to authenticity, it really is about that communication and how we communicate through pictures. And with this digital world, it's so critically important. But authenticity is the name of the game today. And the truth is, you want people that appreciate what you have to offer. They're your ideal clients, right?
Absolutely. And it makes the working together experience so much more enjoyable when you're working with people that appreciate you and you appreciate them. It's a great connection.
Absolutely. And one of the tips that I would give for people when they're building their personal brand is to get the feedback from your peers, from your clients, from your boss, from other people, because they're the recipient of it. And they may find that you have other strengths than what you considered your strength to be, or you thought they worked with you for one reason, and that was not it at all. So it really helps shed light on what people find valuable in you, regardless of the line of work that you're in, to really help build that brand and hit the audience exactly that you're looking for.
Absolutely. And it really is such a self-esteem booster too. It's
Oh,
something that really helps your inner self where, you're going to get ideas of who you are that you may not have been in touch with prior to that, but also you're going to have visuals that is going to make you feel so good because they're going to be images and or even content that you create from it that really does feed your inner soul and just makes you feel great, and it just makes you want to do more of what you do well.
I felt that way after we worked together on my pictures.
Thanks.
And I still feel that way. Every time I look at them, I go, I love it. I love it. So, and I know we're due for another session. And that's probably something to mention as well. Your branding should evolve with you. And just because you had a great picture taken in 1998 doesn't mean that it's still appropriate today. And it
Absolutely.
should grow and evolve with you.
Yes.
So to make that reinvestment every couple of years to kind of catch up at where you are and make sure that you're always putting your best self out there for people, both in terms of any career marketing tools that you do, but it's so appropriate in the workplace. I mean, it's
Right.
the same thing as updating your skills and becoming more and more relevant to your clients. So it's just the same
Absolutely.
thing, only sometimes we have a hard time doing it for ourselves.
Yes, 100%. And like you said, as you grow with your skill set, you should also be growing with your visual set as well. So that's important. Being visually recognizable is,
Yeah,
is a big one.
absolutely.
And showing your personality through your images is really important.
So, Dana, for people that are interested in reaching out to you to begin the conversation about what it's like to work with you and consider having you do their personal branding portraits, how can they best reach you?
You can find me on adorephotostudio.com, or you can also find me on Instagram at adorephotobuffalo is my tag. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn. So I'm pretty much on all the visual platforms.
Excellent, excellent. And I just want to call out, because you did not mention it, but you were featured recently in a Step Out Buffalo article as well, and identified as one of the top photographers in this area. Were you not?
I was. Thanks, Kathy. I was. It was a true honor, and they're an awesome company to work with. They're fantastic.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think all that's important for people to know. So I will drop the link to Dana's organization, to Adore Studios, in the comment section. And she is on her website. When you go in there, you can see a lot of pictures she's already done. And I know she'd be happy to share others with you as well. So is there any other thoughts you'd like to leave our audience with, say, to Dana, as we sign off?
I would say just keep being you, keep moving forward and growing. And if you're looking to grow visually, I would love to work with you.
All right. Well, thank you, Dana Goodemote from Adore Studios. I appreciate your time today. And everybody, get out there. Think about your personal brand. Ask people what it is. Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing we like better than, truthfully, is to be able to represent our best selves to others and to serve others. Thank you, Dana, so much.
Thank you, Kathy. A pleasure. Appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.